You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're about to get underway with one of our favourite pairs of shows of the year. It's IPL preview time. It's IPL preview time part 1. We're going to be talking Rajasthan Royals, Mumbai Indians, Sunrisers, Hyderabad, Gujarat Titans and Lucknow Super Giants on this episode, and then we'll be following that up with a sequel featuring the other 5 teams. We've got coaches, captains, kit reviews, strengths, weaknesses. What type of car would this team be if it was a car? Possible 11s and our best guess at how the team will get on this year. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. What type of car would you be, Ross, if you were a car?
I reckon I would be a TVR. I'm so unreliable, but pretty flashy. So, it's a good mix, I reckon.
Max, I've never asked you this question. What type of car would you be if you were a car?
You have never asked me this question, and woefully unprepared I am. How about a Ford Fiesta? Not flashy and somewhat stout, but dependable. That's what I think of myself, apparently. What car would you be, Jack?
I don't really know anything about cars, and so even though it was my suggestion to say what type of car the team would be, it was one of those ones where I regretted it when it actually came down to deciding what car Mumbai Indians would be, and I'm going to make it up on the fly from my, knowledge of maybe 5 cars. I don't know. A Ferrari. That's
wow,
good car.
very high opinions of yourself.
That tracks with the ego. So I'd buy it.
What I like about this is that people who now listen to the Cricket Podcast, and we're going to start getting Auto Trader kind of adverts now all over our thing, which is what we need.
Yeah, I reckon people click on those quite a lot, so could be a good move.
That's true. Yeah, it's all about the clicks. A reminder before we get going: please do like and subscribe to the Cricket Podcast if you're over on YouTube. Please follow the Cricket Podcast if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Google, Overcast, Acast, any of the casts, anywhere where you listen to a podcast. And if you really want to help us out, go to a different one and follow us there as well. It helps build the audience and tell the big eye in the sky, probably Google, that we are good. Let's get into some cricket. Let's start with the Rajasthan Royals, the home team in a way, aren't they, Ross? Lots of English fans of the Rajasthan Royals. Take it away.
Yeah, so their captain is Sanju Samson. Is he loved by the Indian kind of supporters? I don't know, but he is loved by the Rajasthan Royals fandom, and he is coached by none other than Kumar Sangakkara and My Pink Boys. So if you are watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my jersey, my Rajasthan Royals jersey, and they're a great side. They are a great side. If you think around where their strengths lie, their top order is probably the best in the competition. Lads, would you agree with that? Buttler, Jaiswal, Samson. That's a pretty formidable top 3.
Mumbai might have something to say, but it's not. Yeah, it's certainly a lot better than almost everyone else.
I think just having Jaiswal or Buttler would give you entry to. I've got one of the best teams, one of the best opening pairs in the tournament. Yeah. If you have them both, I don't think it's disputable. I think you made a good call there, Ross.
Yeah, right-hander, left-hander, both brilliant. But what I love about all 3 of those players is that it's not just the runs they bring at what is pretty normally a phenomenal pace, but they have the ability to craft different types of innings. And I think that sometimes goes underrated in the IPL because you get some one-paced players, you get two-paced. These guys can play in any situation, and it gives Rajasthan Royals the flexibility to actually get off to a flyer and protect the team. Typically, these guys aren't getting out in kind of the 4th over and there's a massive rebuild, etc. And there's always a strong foundation that they work from. They've got West Indian firepower in the middle order. Hetty may like his food, but he also munches bowling for fun when he's playing for the Royals. And it's good to have a fail-safe, isn't it? Jack, Max, I think when we were doing the IPL mini auction review, we were all a little bit stunned that he picked Rovman Powell as straight out of the blocks and pretty much blew all of their budget on him. Max, it's good to have a fail-safe, right? Though, if one West Indian fails, it's good to have another one coming in straight after.
Yeah, I suppose there's quite a lot of money to spend on a fail-safe. I mean, it's an interesting ploy, but I mean, he's he's a good player. So it's not necessarily a bad move. And it's one thing that perhaps Rajasthan have struggled with, isn't it? The depth chart. So it does make sense for them.
Yeah. Then bowling wise, Ashwin and Chahal is a great spin duo, an absolutely brilliant team. And so that duo, I think, can blow teams away. But they've also got a couple of newbies, and that is Shubham Dubey. And then a strong contingent of domestic bowling talent, which actually I think positions them probably as one of the strongest teams for using the impact sub rule. I think some of the other teams haven't quite figured it out. I think Rajasthan Royals actually position their team balance in a way to really utilise that, which I think quite a few of the other teams don't. Weaknesses, I'm going to have to go back to Rovman Powell. It was a baffling decision, I thought, at the start. They needed an all-rounder. But they've got an awful lot of faith in Rian Parag. I don't want to see him bowling. You don't want to see him bowling. Even his TikTok followers don't want to see him bowling. But here they are. They've still got that gap. But because of their strength in terms of the domestic bowlers they've got, I think the impact sub kind of lessens that. So they can go in with the kind of stronger top six, a questionable 7, an 8, and then kind of the tail that they got to work with. So I don't think it's too shabby.
I mean, you could give them some credit and say that they've identified the fact that they don't necessarily need an all-rounder because of the impact sub rule now.
Exactly, and that's I think from the feeling for it is that they went, nope, this is the plan we're going with. And sometimes you've got to respect courage of convictions, and we're going to see what happens in this IPL. What car are they? This team have an awful lot going for them. They've got elite players who are showstoppers, and they also like to do things a little bit differently, as discussed. But they also have a breakdown in them, like we saw last year, where they completely fluffed their lines and missed out on the playoffs altogether. They've got an awful lot of English fans in the IPL, and therefore I think the Rajasthan Royals are an Aston Martin, is what I'd go for.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That is strong. I aimed a lot lower with my cars. I will. I will.
Yeah,
maybe we should clarify here. The cricket podcast car rating system for teams is completely subjective. This
Completely
is
subjective.
not. Yeah, this is.
Well, but
It's not a question of would they win in a drag race.
No, it's not. I just say, like before. So, for those of you who are new to the podcast, if you went back and listened to our previous years, we've kind of done like best tourist destinations in the cities that we're kind of covering.
Museum.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Spirit
Delhi's
Animal last year, I think it was.
Spirit Animal last year. Delhi's toilet museum really goes down in history as one of the best ones.
I thought the Iron Pole of Delhi was actually better than the toilet museum, but
we'll agree to disagree on that one. Probable 11, Josh Buttler, Jaiswal, Samson, already discussed. I think Rovman Powell slots in at 4, Hetty at 5. And then this is where kind of the impact subs kind of comes in. So Rian Parag and Shubham Dubey might be vying for that, and along with Jarrell as well, and in that space. And then Ashwin, Trent Bolt, Avish Khan with Prashid Krishna and Yuzi Chahal. So I think they've got kind of the 20 overs that they need. There's an option there if they really are really desperate or want to bring someone else into the game by bowling Rian Parag. But overall, they go with a strong set of batters, a strong set of bowlers, and I think the balance has kind of reasonably worked. The issue that they've got is the death overs. Are quite a lot of teams actually struggle with some of the death overs, but can they really use kind of Yuzi Chahal in kind of an aggressive fashion up there potentially? I'm not sure that I love Avesh and Prashid Krishna bowling at the death, and Trent Bolt has a propensity to go around the park. Lads, I think that's a pretty strong 11, 12 kind of in that space.
Yeah, I think you're probably about right. I think your point about the death bowling is one that 100% I think we'll see play out over this year. I can full on see the wheels coming off at some stage and then going all around the park. What probably works in their favour is that they've got quite a lot of genuine wicket takers in the bowling group, so they might be getting to the death overs with the other team 7 wickets down if they're lucky. And there aren't that many great number 9s. So if they're able to do that, it might kind of balance out that potential weakness. It's a really good team to have finished 5th last year and not made the playoffs. When I was looking through the sides, the thing that really stood out to me are the number of batters they have who finished in the top 30% of players based on strike rate last year. So Hetmeyer, Samson, Jerv Terrell, who's the other one? Jaiswal. That's 4 of her potential top 6. And one of the other players in the top 6 is Josh Buttler, who had a little bit of a down year, but we'd probably back, I think, to bounce back. Certainly in other competitions, he's been doing pretty well. So they could be going in with 5 absolute lasers when it comes to strike rate. And none of those guys are like, a lucky number 8. They're guys who aren't getting out much either. I mean, like Jaiswal, we've just seen him batter England in the Test series. His T20 stats in general, but in the IPL particular last year are nuts. He's in the top 15% of players for balls per dismissal, so he barely gets out, and basically top 10% for strike rate. So he's smashing teams as well as out. It's a lethal combination.
Yeah, and that's what I think, that bit around being able to blow teams away, and I think that is a part of, like, they know they've got a weakness at the end of the innings. Do you know what? Yeah, let's try and front load it and try and take as many wickets as possible. I think it's a good strategy for them, and I'm in terms of their chances of winning. I think form hopefully picks up for Josh Buttler, and they live up to what I think is quite a strong billing. I think they're going to be a really strong title contender this year. And I think as much as the Rothman Powell pissed me off at the time, the pickup of that, I'm really hoping that the balance of it works out for them. So, I'm going to say Rajasthan Royals will comfortably qualify for the playoffs. And I think they're going to be a contender for lifting the title this year.
Even if you look at Rothman, I can see why they picked him up. I mean, like the guy does belt a lot of sixes. I think you're probably right about the pricing, and there might be a bit of a mini auction dynamic in there, and they needed like a guy who could specifically play a certain role, and there sometimes aren't loads of people who can do that in the auction pool. But he's in the top 6% of players for number of sixes hit per ball, which is pretty good in the wider T20 pool.
It is.
Doesn't really do anything else. Like, I will say that. Like, it's a one-trick pony thing that he's
You're going to do one thing though. Isn't a bad one.
Yeah. And I think that the general squad, I think they've got some depth, and I think it's. I think it kind of plays to it a little bit that they can rotate their team and actually not get that much worse, especially in the bowling department. Actually, is there that much of a drop off between Avesh Khan, Prasid Krishna, Sandeep Sharma, kind of Kuldeep Sen? Actually, they're probably all within kind of 10% of each other on that front, which I think is a decent position to be in. And they've also got a couple of exciting players in the wings, right? Nondre Berger, Donovan Ferreira, even Tom Cadmore's in there. And then they've obviously got Zamps, Adam Zampa. So who, as the tournament goes on, we might see him kind of play a little bit more of a role where the pitches start to turn a little bit more. So, yeah, well-rounded team. I think there's a lot to be confident about this year, Royals fans, and I'll be right there with you as they're the team I support.
So you're saying playoffs? Can they go all the way? Are you prepared to go all the way, or are you saying just playoffs?
Yeah, I'm saying I'm prepared. They're finalists this year.
Finalists. Wow, Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the team. It's a good side, definitely a good side. My concern is the consistency over a long period, like we saw last year. Essentially, I think they're probably a step better this year because I think. Whatever you say about Rothman Powell maybe not being the elite of the elite, he's got enough eliteness around him that it might not matter, but it just gives them a little bit more depth with the batting. That is probably where they fell down last year. The death bowling is a concern, but I think the death bowling is going to be a concern for quite a lot of sides in the IPL, so perhaps not too much concern. Where I do worry is with Rajasthan is their home form. Because they are one of the poorer sides at home, aren't they?
They don't really have a home, do they? They played
last year they played quite a few second ground as well, which for the cricket in India and the IPL and getting it to other places is great, but for a side trying to build a winning team, it's perhaps not the way forward. So take
away just a big advantage that you might have. Just take it away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, they're the things that would worry me about them being proper contenders. But you look at on paper, they should be playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably where I come down to. I think that's a potential weakness that Ross didn't mention. I also wonder, like Ross, you mentioned Rian Parag. Like he is my most anticipated player for this season. Like
I
I've
mean, he had
seen a
a
lot of
real
Rian Parag.
smack.
Unbelievable. And then he's been destroying the Ranji Trophy as well. Like
Yeah.
it's a different level. I think it's pretty clear that it's a different level. But he has been doing bits, and maybe this will be the break. He's still a young man. Maybe it'll be the breakout year.
But he's played an awful lot of IPL cricket as well. He's actually got quite a lot of experience at this level. Like they've given him an awful long rope, and I think hopefully that kind of comes through. And I still think he's got a place in this 11 or 12. But there is that part. I just don't see him as that all rounder. He's definitely more of the batting, a battery bowler.
Is he the Zach Crawley of the Rajasthan Royals? Is this the year of Rian Parag?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think for his SMAT team, he bats number 4, and it's quite hard to see him. Maybe it's a bit of a push, I think, to see him batting that high for the big show, and then that puts him in. Yeah, like he's always sort of a bit. So he gets used as a bits and pieces player, which probably doesn't help him for Rajasthan.
Yeah.
But maybe this will be the year.
But this is where we've always said over the last kind of couple of years that Hett is just becoming more and more just a designated hitter, right? Rather than somebody who's batting up the order. So actually, there might be a bit where Hetty actually bats at 6, really into that kind of 4 or 5 slot, and that's maybe how it works.
Cool, Ross. Really good summary. If you like the Cricket Podcast, remember to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter as well, @the Cricket Pod. We're going to take a quick break. Or if this is YouTube, we're going to be coming back with another video. And the next team on the list, we might as well tease them, the Mumbai Indians. Like this is a team that have made some moves. So get ready. We'll be back in a moment.